The night is dark and full of terrors. Morning, everybody. I am pouring myself a cup of coffee, my second cup. It's still dark. I don't have the lights on. There's some lights on outside. Let's see what it's like out there. My sandals are missing. I'm gonna have to go find my other sandals. We're fine for now. I'm gonna go. I got Leia's right here. What's up, Leia? Can I put that down there? What are you doing, sweetie? She's sitting here because above the door we get lots of lizards. So she likes to hang out and catch lizards. So the lights are on. That's why it's bright out here. But it is 6:15 in the morning. Welcome to the next daily vlog. Go grab my chair. Very early morning. I wonder if I can turn the light off. Probably be really bad lighting. But I don't mind. Oh yeah, it's really dark out there. We'll see how it looks. Deal with it. How's everybody doing this morning? I got my second cup of coffee. Sit I heard about the chicken coop. What's up, ladies? Yes, good morning. So we have a video coming out later on today talking about the cost of living in Mexico. We have not done a cost of living post since we used to live in Cancun, which was like 6-7 years ago, something like that. For a long time in Cancun, we had a guidebook for how to live like a local in Cancun, Mexico, and it was a best-selling guidebook. Sold anywhere from dozens of copies per month, and then we had some peak periods when we were selling hundreds of copies per month, on top of running our Airbnb and the tour agency stuff that we used to do and everything else. But Chris and I moved away from that when I got into game dev, and now with the blogs, blogs are no longer a thing. We're just looking at, rebuilding our YouTube channel here with, stuff here. And I guess one of the questions that I used to get asked, and I haven't been asked this question in a while because I haven't been in communication with a lot of people, but I'm going to answer the question anyway because I think it's a good piece of content. And I did mention it on my other YouTube channel maybe a year ago, because someone had asked me there, like, why do you spend most of your time in Mexico when you're from the United States? That's a complex answer. Complex question with a complex answer. So the short answer is that if you watch the video that's coming out later today called Cost of Living, that's a big reason why. What's up, Dora? How are you doing? When I left in 2007, it was costing two people at the time around $4,000 a month just for like basic bills, and that was 2007. Nowadays it's costing $6,000 or more for two people in most places. The rent issue with the United States is you need to be making 3 times, I believe is what people are saying right now. You need to be making 3 times what the rent is to even qualify for a home, to be able to qualify for rent, and then to get into a, ownership situation. Forget about it. Unless you're one of the 1%, you're not buying a home in the United States right now. We paid cash for our place. I've talked about this on this channel. We paid $10,000 cash for this property that we're on right now. This piece of land and the house that came with it, which is a 20-year-old house. $10,000 cash. And we got a good deal because we bought it from her mom, from Christina's mom. So not having a mortgage and not having any sort of rent at all, that cost of living makes it extremely worthwhile for us to be here because we don't need a lot to pay the bills, which means everything we do can go into our savings or for, upkeep on this property. Now, we didn't just, it wasn't just buying the property. We had to move here, we had to pay off this place, we had other things we did, over the course of, I think, 2021 and 22, we spent, in the ballpark of like on various things. I'd say we were up in the $40,000 range. So it for various things. Travel, payments. Paying this place off. What's up, Dora? You're being a cranky butt. We had a bunch of lawyer stuff that we had to take care of with the other company, business expenses. So there's just but looking at needing $5,000 to $6,000 a month for us to live in the U.S. Um, is a big reason, but financial reasons are not the only reasons. We obviously spend a lot of time up at my brother's ranch as often as we can. Now, obviously, we haven't done that in the last couple of years because of all the COVID stuff, and it's just become untenable to fly a lot. I talked about this the other day. Like, we used to be able to go. This is just 3 years. The Christmas of 2019 was the last time we went up. $1,500 round trip business class tickets from Mexico City, for us to go up to the U.S. $1,500 round trip business class. Usually $1,200 to $1,500 was about what we would pay for round trip tickets, and always business class. I hate flying coach. Um, it is now costing $3,000 for economy tickets, coach tickets for that same trip, because all of the airlines have gone out of business. The only ones that are left are charging a fortune. So it's like, yeah, we've been spending the last couple of years, we've spent most of our time here in Mexico because it's just been cost prohibitive to fly up. But I think we're going up. Ideally, we're going to go up this summer, or at least I'll go up for a few months. Um, Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, brother. We'll see. But theoretically, we'd like to go up because we haven't been in a few years. But it's not just the cost of living. I mean, it's funny to me that like the Andrew Tate thing that's going around right now with, unplugged from the Matrix. If you go back to the book that I published after my brother's suicide, it was called Beyond Borders, Social Revolution, I think is what the name of the book was called. And if you read that book, the whole book was me talking about unplugging, and I literally used the same terminology, unplugged from the Matrix, all this other stuff. And I had a different mindset back then. But a lot of it was, getting away from that idea that one country is the best country in the world. The reality is they're all good countries. They've all got pros and cons. Christina's from here, so why wouldn't we spend a lot of time here? Why wouldn't we? Universal health care is a big factor. Um, it allows us to do the things that we want to do as opposed to doing things that we have to do to pay bills. So we can focus on the things that make us happy and pursuing creative endeavors that a lot of other people don't have the opportunity to pursue because they have to work a 9 to 5 that pays enough money to pay the bills, and often they're working 2 jobs and everything else. Um, there's a lot of reasons um, related to just simple, for better or for worse. An example here is my property. I can do anything I want on my property for now. Laws might change. But we live in a small town, and the reason I say for better or for worse is because I can do anything I want on my property. So can my neighbors. So I've complained about that neighbor back there behind that fence. She burns trash every day. If we lived in a homeowners association, she wouldn't be able to burn trash, but I wouldn't be able to have a barbecue every time I wanted to either because of smoke regulations and all this other stuff. So again, pros and cons of I don't have a homeowners association looking over my shoulder, nor do I have any sort of governmental oversight, sitting here telling me what I can or can't do with my own property. Now, obviously, there are rules. As an example, I'm going to flip the camera around real quick. So if you see that gap, get that out of focus. So there's the wall of the neighboring property, and there's the edge of our house, and you see that there's a gap right there. That's like a 10-inch, no, that's more than that. It's like maybe 15-inch wide gap. Also, consequently, that's where all the water goes, because there's no drainage over there, and all the water, when it comes down the hill, goes out right there. Now, the rule is that your property line, if you build any structure, it has to be back a few inches from your property line, which is why there's a gap, because the property line is actually in the middle of those two buildings, and so each structure has been built back away from the property line. The church did not follow their regulations, and that little retaining wall, which runs down the chain link fence, literally runs directly down the edge of our house. Why? Because even though there are rules and regulations here, not everyone follows them. But there are rules, and it's, a lot of people are like, Mexico, it's so corrupt, blah blah blah. No, it's not. Yes, it is, but no, it's not. It's no more corrupt or less corrupt than any other country on the planet. It's also no more dangerous than any other. People often talk about, oh, that's dangerous. No, it's not. Have you ever been to Chicago? Have you ever been to Los Angeles? Holy shit, Los Angeles is, outside of Hollywood, Los Angeles is not a nice place. Every country has its pockets. If you're a normal person, it's never going to affect you. So why Mexico? Cost of living's cheap. Universal health care is good. Chris is from here. It all just, it's easy to get up to the States when I want. And we can go up anytime we want. I could do what I want on my property. For now, that could change. Laws could come into place. They could have homeowners associations. They could start, being stricter about things. I don't know. But if you've watched our trajectory, what Chris and I have done over the past years, any of you who have been around here for a long time, one of the big things that I've always talked about and used to speak about at our speaking gigs is the benefit of living in a place where the cost of living is less is that you can bootstrap all of your ventures. I used to make fun of people who would take $30,000 and, they would say, we're going to go travel the world for 2 years and we're going to have a $30,000 budget. But then they wouldn't have a plan other than we're just going to travel for 2 years and we're going to get famous. And they end up, after 2 years, running out of money and going back to their day jobs because they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a business plan. So one of the things that, I've been pretty good at, some people will say, well, you're not a millionaire, therefore you're not really an entrepreneur. Well, there's various levels of entrepreneurship. You don't have to agree with me. But we've done fairly good for ourselves. And I'm sitting here, I'll be 43 in a couple of weeks, and I'm debt-free. I own everything I have. It's literally zero. We don't even have credit card debt. We have zero debt. And again, knock on wood, because there are always ups and downs in life. I've had debt. As early as 2017. In 2017, I had a few $1,000s on the credit card because bought a drone, went to Ireland. The trip to Ireland was mostly paid for. Like the flights there and back were paid for, and about half of our stay was paid for. But we did 2 weeks on the Wild Atlantic Way on a road trip. The car rental I paid for, and we had about, I think 30% of our stay was covered by the Blue Book Society, and the rest of it was independent. We just were doing that along the way. So, paying for that, paying for the drone, and some other stuff. We put about, I want to say about $3,000 on the credit card. When I got back, I went to Boulder expecting, and I flew to Boulder on my own dime, expecting that a contract that I was working on with Don George and Sabine was going to be extended because Don had been there for like 15 years. We went to Boulder, went on my own dime, everything else, spent another $1,000. Got home and found out that that contract, like 2 days later, got canceled. And out of the blue, even though our results were like 370%, like we had a outrageously great year, but the contract got canceled. And so, at that point I was like, well, shit, I just spent $4,000 on a credit card, and now the contract got canceled. And so, I had $4,000 on a credit card. So I've had debt in the past. Credit card debt sucks, by the way, because the interest rates are so high. But that was a temporary thing. So it's like pros and cons, ups and downs. Where I'm at right now in life is Chris and I own everything, don't have any debt, and we can work on the things that we want to work on, which is like video production. That's all we do is video production. We work on the garden. We build structures like that. We work on landscaping. We cook. We're building up all of our various channels. We have our Wandering Hermits Enterprise with my brother, a Patreon page for that, which is all game dev related. I have my other YouTube channel, which is gaming and sci-fi and fantasy shows and books and pop culture. And we work out of our home and get to do all of those things. And there's a part of me that's like, it would be nice to get back out on the road, but I also was blessed to spend all of my 20s and pretty much most of my 30s traveling full time. And yeah, I kind of it wouldn't mind getting back to traveling, but I also did it when I was younger, so it's not this thing where I feel like I have to have it or that I feel like I'm missing it. Different priorities. We have the cats now. I mean, is that Leia? Leia. Or is that Dora? I can't tell from the camera. That's Leia. We have all our cats now. Christina has her chickens. We're talking about getting a dog. We don't have kids, so, we have other ways to fulfill our lives. Anyway, why Mexico? Those are some of the reasons we live in Mexico. I don't know. Could be somewhere else. If Chris was from Canada, we'd probably live in Canada. If Chris was from Lithuania, I'd probably live in Lithuania. If I lived in Bulgaria. I lived in Colombia, I've never had a problem living in other countries. Learn the language. Every city in the world has high-speed internet. Every city in the world has, varying levels, but they all have great health care, high-speed internet, transportation, internet, food. What? It's a planet. Like, it shouldn't matter where we're from. And this is why that book that I wrote that I mentioned earlier was called Beyond Borders, because if you listen to the guys talk about it when they're on the space station, they literally say you can't see any lines dividing places when you're up in space. You just see one big ball of Earth. Lines are only defined by politics. So don't let your life be ruled by politics, folks. Find somewhere that speaks to you. Go there, have fun, live there, do what you need to do. Find something creative to pursue. More to come. Talk to you guys later. Cheers.